Hare Krishna. This is Isvari Laxmi Priya Devi Dasi, and we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, and it's about embryology from the teachings of Srila Prabhupad. So this chapter mainly talks about how the soul enters into the womb of a mother, and then how it feels or what it feels to be in the womb of a mother. Not only that, it also talks about the journey of the soul from the day one till the birth, and also after the birth as well. And in the following chapter, it continues how the material entanglement takes place once the child is born, and especially the suffering that the soul goes through. Naturally, the soul is Sachidananda. It's always blissful and full of knowledge, and it lives eternally, never dies. It cannot be perished or burned, like as it said in Bhagavad Gita. However, the soul, when it is inside the body, then it is attacked by the Maya, Deva Maya, or also known as Mahamaya. And the suffering that it takes place or it goes through is what we are going to study. So when we compare the embryology between the teachings from Srimad Bhagavatam and what we see from modern embryology, it's not much a big difference. However, there is one, of course, a significant significant information that is not spoken or discussed in the modern embryology, that is about the consciousness of a child inside the womb. The modern embryology talks about the awareness that the child gets inside the womb about the 7th month onwards. However, it doesn't talk about the consciousness and then the suffering that the soul goes through. So that's the difference between the Vedic study or the modern science, Vedic science and modern science, because the Vedic science goes in very detailed manner, whereas modern science that goes only as per what they see. So they do not talk about or discuss about what they do not see or experience. So this is an unfortunate situation because they do not believe in the Shastras, because they cannot see things. So even intelligence or consciousness you cannot see, but you still feel or experience and you believe in them. Same with modern science, they believe in them, but again they have their own boundary drawn, and therefore they only believe up to a certain remarks. So coming back to this development of a child in the womb, so from day one onwards or night one onwards, how the fertilization takes place. So based on karma, so everything is based on karma. Why the child takes rebirth is based on his or her karma only. So that's why when we do good things, people say, or elders say, even the Shastras say, good things come back to you. When you do bad things come back to you. To enjoy or suffer the deeds that you have performed, whether in this life or in previous life, you have to have a body to enjoy. For example, if you're going into the pool or in an ocean, very deep ocean, you need to have a proper swimsuit. And therefore you can go and enjoy like a fish in the water, correct, in the ocean. But if you think that no, I don't need anything, I can go survive for days and nights without having any proper suitable clothing for the ocean, then it won't work like that. You can survive for probably some hours, but not for long. But again, when we are not, say, our body has to be compatible to live in a particular atmosphere, correct? If in fire or in water or in air, we see so many insects, so many species living. There are totally 8.4 million species live in this entire creation. So 8.4 million species means it's a different kind of species. It's not just the population, 8.4 million population. No, it's about 8.4 million. It's accurate. It's given in Srimad Bhagavatam. and also the other shastras. But in modern science, what they say, they are coming closer to 8.4 million. Recently only they have discovered that. But again, they do not know the breakdown of how many kind of men or human beings, or in that 8.4 million species table, or how many types of birds in that 8.4 million species. So 1.1 million species of birds, 900,000 species of aquatics, 400,000 species of humankind. So it's all given in Shastras. And the scientists or the doctors who do not want to read the Shastras, unfortunately do not have put their faith or trust in this type of statements. They think this is mythology. End of the day, they just conclude, and this is more like conjecturing, without complete information. They just come to a conclusion that this is what it is. So it's okay, whatever they believe or not believe, it's not going to change the Vedic science or the truth, the absolute truth. So when we see the first night of the formation or the development of a child, we know that when the union takes place between female and the male, the semen or the sperm comes from the male organ, reproductive organ, and then ovum from the female reproductive organ. When they combine, it's called zygote. That's the process, fertilization process takes place. So that is given in modern embryology. And when the fertilization takes place, the embryo is formed, okay, and then the first month the head is formed. And in the modern embryology, it says that head and spine start developing. See, we don't need to compare, word by word or anything like that. It's just for our own awareness or understanding, or just for learning purposes. We are seeing this table here in front of us. It's saying second month how the limbs are formed, hands and feet start forming. As per Bhagavatam, whereas in modern embryology it agrees as well, the same thing happens. The third month the detailed things start to develop, and fourth month you can see the structure of the body is more distinguishable. And fifth month, when it starts to move, because the limbs already formed from the second month onwards, we know the limbs already formed, but the movement starts to takes place from fifth month onwards. So development of muscles and bones, etc. And sixth month, we say that in Bhagavatam we see the consciousness awakens. So fetus begins to experience discomfort. This is where the main theme of this entire Bhagavatam discourses. So the fetus, when it starts to feel the discomfort or the pain, it doesn't happen until the sixth month, because consciousness has to be awakened, correct? One thing we need to understand is Paramatma, none other than Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. There are three Vishnu. One is Karanadakshayi Vishnu, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. Kshirodakshayi Vishnu is none other than Paramatma. He is the super soul. So we are souls, and super soul is like a guardian, right? Every soul has their own super soul. So super soul within everyone's heart gives us that instinct or the guidance, or instructions. But agreeing to it or following those instructions and executing the will of the Lord, it's based on person's understanding towards the spirituality or the devotion, correct? If they do not have the understanding of divine power within everyone's heart, then they do not know, even though people, generally speaking, they know what is right, what is wrong. However, they do not understand the Paramatma within their own body it is guiding them, therefore they should follow the right path. They don't have that full conviction unless they have follow the instruction of guru, sadhu and sastras. Otherwise they think it's all whimsical, it's their mind, and they just follow as they desire, right? So in modern embryology, 6th month, it is starting to respond to the sound. See, this is again, it is agreeing to the fact that awakening of the consciousness, so nervous systems start to function, and the fetus starts to respond to the sound. That is another reason why a mother is recommended to hear the good music. So the music or the classes or anything that is in the mode of goodness. So therefore the baby will derive the benefit of the same and will reflect that on the baby's life in the future. And here it is an important thing happening from the 7th month onwards. See, because the consciousness already awakened, now in modern embryology it stops where the brain developments it's starting to happen rapidly, and fetus is becoming more aware of the surroundings. When the father comes and say hello to the child, the child kicks or responds in some manner, right? Mostly it moves. That's all it could do inside the womb. Being confined in the amniotic acid, the child now starts to feel the reality, one side of the reality, because there are two sides of the reality for the child. So one within the womb and the other one is when it comes out of the womb. So when the child is in the womb, it is clearly said in Srimad Bhagavatam chapter 31 from Canto 3 that only fortunate children or the babies will have the reflection from the past lives, past karmic activities that the child had performed. But not every child would have experienced this kind of karmic reflection. That is exactly what it is said in Bhagavatam. So we shouldn't think that, okay, every child goes through this this discomfort and pain. And yes, every child goes through the discomfort and pain, not the analytical skill of what the past karmic activities it has done in the past, and therefore how it should get liberated, how it should get out of the cycle of birth and death. That kind of awareness or realization, it won't come to every single soul in the womb. It's based on the karma or sukruti it carries, the good karma it carries, or good karmic reactions it carries, correct? So for everything you need to have a proper account, a credit or debit, correct? If you go to the shop for a purchase of something, you need to have enough money, or at least you have to have some eligibility to borrow money or take the money or purchase a product on loan or on a credit card or something like that, right? You need to have some credible account with some authorized bank or financial institution. So you cannot just go and do anything you like in terms of transactions, right? So similar manner, a child or a soul, when it comes to this material world, whatever it does or doesn't, it based on the punya and papa from previous lives. Not the action it's going to take. Of course, it's a choice. For example, if I have a choice to do charity or spend money on myself, it's up to me. If I do charity, I would be accumulating some punya karma, and that will be reaped by myself only. It won't go to anybody else. It will be reaped by myself. Of course, there are portions of my punya karma will be shared amongst the family members, but that's not the purpose, the sole purpose. Not S-O-U-L, it's S-O-L-E. The sole purpose is not that I'm doing everything for my generation, future generation. Of course, I'm doing it mainly for myself. That's how every karmi individual who involved in karma yoga will practice. correct? That is, it's nothing wrong with it, but that's how normally, until they come to the path of devotional practice, they do not have this kind of education or awareness or how or what one should do or perform. Like what, even charity, it has more it can be performed in mode of goodness or passion or ignorance, correct? So if you are giving money away to someone who is going to use your money that you donated in buying an alcohol or doing any abominable activities, then the papa that he accumulated using your money, a portion of papa will come to you also, correct? So we need to be careful, again, as said in Bhagavad Gita clearly, the charity that is given in mode of goodness or passion or ignorance will have their own effects, cause and effect. So when the soul start to reflect on the past karma, it realizes, I'm feeling this pain inside this amniotic acid, the sac in the mother's womb. I will come to that point where what kind of suffering it goes through by the child being in the womb itself. And of course, there's so many more suffering once it comes out of the womb. That's another story. So in the 8th month, the full body development happens, and the skin starts to thicken. And here in the modern embryology, it says a similar thing. Lungs get matured and etc. Now 9th month, in both cases, the fetus is ready to come out of the womb. So what happens? The wind in the mother's womb propels, therefore it pushes the baby, so the baby head comes downwards. See, we are simply saying all this biological stuff, but actually how the baby or what the baby goes through inside the womb to get the position of the head of the baby come downwards is really hard, and it's a real struggle for the child to experience all of this. So here we see that the suffering of the child is described again in not only in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also described in so many other sastras, which we will see in a minute. So the pain that a child goes through, from where the pain comes, only the mother is feeling pain. General scenario, generally people think that the mother is going through the pain of bearing the baby in her womb, correct? Because it's heavy and she cannot lie down on her back. On her tummy, she has to lie down on her back only. She can't roll over. She can't move or sleep on her sides. She would often feel the shortness of breath or heaviness in her body, and tightness on her breasts, or swelling on her ankles, because the body is becoming heavier and heavier as month passes, with the child is also growing inside. So the swelling happens on her ankles or the knees or whatnot. And even if she maintains a healthy diet, there are certain suffering the mother has to go through also for the period of the childbearing. But again, the mother also has to go through a different set of suffering once the child comes out. Whether the child is good or not, the mother will show unconditional love. When in something like love, if it is not reciprocated, even though it is unconditional, but it is still conditional to a certain extent. At least if unconditional on material factor, it is unconditional. But when it comes to love, the mother would still expect some proportion of love coming back to the mother from the child, correct? So that is still conditional. So when that doesn't come, then she starts to feel that pain as well. That's emotional pain. So here, physical pain the child goes through is because of the heat, the gastric fire in the mother's womb. So the mother's stomach, right? So we all have this, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he is that gastric fire. Okay, to digest your food in the stomach, you need to have that fire, because see, when you're cooking the food, you need heat to cook the food. Right? Some hot pan or hot water. Sometimes some kind of raw ingredients can be cooked through hot water or through sunlight, or sometimes most of the times it would be cooked under the normal fire. correct? Similarly, to get our food digested in our stomach, we need gastric fire. So that gastric fire is next to this baby in the womb, right? So that fire would heaten up the baby as well. So that will be like a scorching heat that kind of pain also that child has to go through. And another important suffering that baby will go through is it is surrounded by the waste like stool and urine. So what you will normally found in that kind of waste, the worms, intestines, and some kind of insects like whatever the stomach worms, like that. So when from 7th month onwards, the child starts to feel the bites because the body is so tender, it cannot hold the pain, but at the same time it cannot do anything about it. It keeps moving. It doesn't have that energy or that stiffness in on the baby's hands to scratch, or when there is itchiness on the body. Even when the baby comes out of the womb, also once the birth is completed, when the child is born, the baby cannot move, cannot stand up, cannot sit down. It cannot tell whoever the person who is taking care of the child, whatever the person is giving to the child, the baby cannot tell, no, I don't like the taste of it, I don't want anything, now I'm not hungry, I'm crying because the insect mosquito is biting me. So the child will go through all this pain, but unfortunately the child cannot say anything about it. Correct? That happens until the child is grown up to a stage where the child can talk, can tell things, what he wants, what he doesn't want, etc. But until such time, the mother has to go with the assumptions only. Oh, this is time of the day that child will be hungry, but the child would not be hungry that time. Maybe the child is crying because it's too much heat or it's too cold inside the house, in the room. So we just go with the assumptions only, correct, during this period. And of course most of the time the mother gets right, but still we are going with the assumptions. So this is when the suffering is happening inside the womb, the fetus starts to pray, because this fortunate soul, now again not every soul will have that fortune or having divine blessing. Now this child, when it has that fortune of remembering the past karma and realizing that no, I shouldn't have come again to this material world, now I'm going to take birth again. No way, I don't want to go back to the cycle of birth and death again. This samsara is torturing me. Now I need to pray to the Lord. So I don't want this life, in the sense I don't want this repeated life and death. Therefore I pray to you, my dear Lord, that please make this birth of myself to be the last one. I don't want any more. But what happens when it comes out of it, it forgets everything. That is the power of Maya. Unless the soul is very fortunate enough to continue to remember the prayers that it had performed inside the womb, then it is a different story. So we have seen some examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, like the previous lives of Narada Muni, Bharata Maharaj and Ajamil, and so on and so forth. See, even Prahlad Maharaj, he is a Nidya Siddha. And the previous life or previous identification of Prahlad Maharaj is not necessary in this context, because he is a Nidya Siddha. Sometimes Nidya Siddha, or most of the times, Nidya Siddha takes birth in a human form in the material world to give us the teachings or demonstrate how to perform bhakti, so we can stop the cycle of birth and death. And then they leave. After giving the teachings or instructions, they just leave. Correct? And then we have to follow that instruction. So the acharyas will continue to pass on that knowledge through Guru Parampara. So that we need to take on board. And we see in Narada Muni's case also, in previous life he was the son of maid servant, but the fortunate deeds that he did was, he was serving the devotees who were coming and staying in the nearby ashram where Narada Muni was staying. They were staying for Chaturmas, 4 months during rainfall. They cannot go out and do any preaching work or any kind of devotional pilgrimage or anything like that. Therefore, they stayed there for 4 months. During this 4 months, the mother of Narada Muni, who was a boy in the previous life, maid servant's boy, she was serving these acharyas, okay, the devotees. When they leave some remnants, Narada Muni would request them if he could eat those remnants, and they allowed him to eat. And when he had those prasadam, Mahaprasadam, he received more blessings. This is more important again. So the prasadam, when we eat from the remnants of the sadhus, pure devotees, we receive their blessings automatically, and the blessings of the Lord also. So Narada Muni in the next life becomes Narada Muni himself, and therefore he becomes preacher, world universal preacher, right? And he can travel any universe at his will, and he can preach Narayana's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela to anybody, even to demons like Hiranyakashipu or another one, Hunter, who becomes Valmiki later on. And also another hunter, his name is I forgot his name, Mrigahari. Yeah, Mrigahari. He also became a great devotee of the Lord after receiving instruction from Narada Muni. And Narada Muni preached to so many, like Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, when he was in the womb of Mother Kayadu, who is the wife of Hiranyakashipu, even though Hiranyakashipu is a demon, but Prahlad Maharaj became a great devotee after receiving the instructions of Narada Muni. This is another power you can feel when you have the association of devotees, because you are receiving all the instructions from the Lord through the devotees, correct? Or they are the representatives of the acharyas or the Lord. Therefore, your heart becomes purified, and you become a devotee as well. So another thing you see in Sastric, in Shastras, there are so many references. We see in Garuda Purana, especially in Preta Kanda, it talks about how the soul journey, how the soul's journey takes place in the womb. And in Bhagavad Gita, Mamayvamsa Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha, so Krishna says in 15.7 how we are part and parcel of Krishna. And but because of our condition, because we are conditioned, we forgot our original constitutional position. Therefore, we just think we are this body or we are this mind, and we just forget everything, and we become unconscious of the real consciousness due to the power of Maya. And in Bhagavad Gita also, Arjuna asks Krishna that one performs so much of austerity or a lot of punya karma or reading shastras, but before they complete the training of bhakti, they die. Then what happens? And Krishna says that even if they die, they will take rebirth, and then they take rebirth in a good aristocratic family or a very sastrical background, family with a sastrical background or devotional background. Then what happens? That creates a conducive environment for the child to become a devotee, or to continue or whatever the practice he left in the past life and continue where he left off. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 also, Swalpa apiyashas dharmashya. So whatever you have done, even if it is a small amount of devotional practice, that will not go in waste, Arjuna. That will continue. If you have done 2% of bhakti, it is fine. You will continue from 2.1% in the next life, and so on and so forth. You will keep accumulating the devotional credit, the bhakti credit in your every life, and once you reach 100%, even if it takes millions of lifetimes, once you reach 100%, you will go back to Vaikuntha Loka or Golaka. So another thing is, if you have a divine intervention, blessings from Guru, Sadhu and Shastras, even in one lifetime, even in one single muhurta, like Katvanga, in Katvanga, within 45 minutes, he was told that he'll die. And he took shelter of devotion practice, and he started to meditate on the Lord, and he went to the planet where he will never return. Same thing with Bharata Maharaj also. In previous life he was a deer. He was a Bharata Maharaj, and then following life he became a deer because he was thinking about the deer. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, at the time of death, whatever you think or desire, that's what you will become in the next life. So because he was taking care of a little deer, he thinks it was his prince and etc. And at the time of death, he was thinking, oh, what will the deer will do once I leave the body and etc. So see, Krishna is the protector. He is the Sukardam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the protector, well-wisher, a good friend of everybody. Even Yudhishthira Maharaj was worried when Dhritarashtra and Gandhari left the kingdom. He was worried. I was looking after them. Who will look after them now? They left without telling me. Then Narada Muni comes and chastises Yudhishthira Maharaj that so you think you are the caretaker of everybody, you are the caretaker of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. No, the Lord is the ultimate caretaker of everybody. Even the ant gets its food, the bird gets its food by the mercy of the Lord. It's, of course, they take endeavor. It's not that they're not taking any endeavor, but we all have to do our duties. But at the same time, things will come on its own accord without having to work hard for receiving miseries. No one will work hard for miseries. No one will work to receive any kind of misery, right? But we will still receive. We are still receiving miseries in this world. Why? That's what Prahlad Maharaj says in Srimad Bhagavatam, that we all do, we all make endeavors and plans to become happy in our lives. But what happens? The misery automatically comes. Why? Because it's based on our destiny, based on our past karma. That destiny, miseries and fruits or of enjoyment, they all come automatically on its own accord. We don't have to make any special endeavor. But what we are doing is overworking, over-analyzing, over-complicating our lives. And in Katha Upanishad also, it talks about the reflection on karma and how one should liberate ourselves from this, again by praying to the Lord. And the Manusmriti, again, it talks about the cycle of birth and the consequences. Consequences is nothing but entanglement. It's called material entanglement. Bhagavad Gita also repeatedly reminds of material entanglement. Here, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, that we are discussing from the beginning, also talks about this entanglement. Why we are studying this embryology is to avoid this entanglement, at least from next life. Otherwise, what happens? We continue to take birth again and again, not knowing. See, when someone wanted to reach from place A to place B, but he doesn't know where the place B is and whether he wants to go to place B or not itself, he doesn't know. He's not clear, but he's just starting the car and starting his journey, and he wanted to reach somewhere. If there is no GPS, no map as such, no goal in his life, no real purpose of his life or that particular journey, what happens? That life becomes useless, and he might keep traveling on that path. His journey might continue forever, like a loop. But unless we become aware of this, what is this ultimate liberation is, how do we get out of the cycle of birth through the Shastras, like Chaitanya Charitamrita also talks about it, and Chandogya Upanishad also talks about this consciousness in the womb. Unless we become aware of these things, it's not going to be liberation. There is no liberation. And the child then prays sincerely, right? We covered this part also earlier. And see, when a child or mother, during the process of this childbirth journey, either mother or infant or both, when they die, or if there is any intervention by doctors through surgery to revive their lives, both are questionable things ethically, right? Because the abortion takes place these days. They're asking for abortion rights and whatnot. But there are karmic destiny when a soul has to enter the sperm of from a particular male, and it has to enter into a particular mother's womb. So this is all destined. So you cannot choose. You or me cannot choose who can be my father or mother. Only Krishna, when he appears in this material world as a human, he chooses, Ramachandra chooses who can be my father and mother when I come in Dwapara Yuga or Treta Yuga or Satya Yuga, etc. But we do not have that choice. We come, we take birth in wherever that is destined as per our own past karma, correct? And there are cases where when the soul enters into the womb, after a particular number of days or months or years, the child will die. Then if we intervene that and stop that, then there will be another journey for the child to take birth again to cover that. I'll just give you an example. Say the suicide also come into such category. Say for example, a soul comes into a particular body and that body's expiry date, expiry number of years would be 80 years. But the child, not the child, but that particular soul in that body decides to commit suicide at the age 20, for example. Now the rest of the 60 years are still on the account of this particular soul, correct? Because it is entitled to live for 80 years, but that soul in that particular body committed suicide at the age of 20. So he still has 60 years left in his account. So what he has to do? He has to wait until he gets another body, because he did a sin. That is an offense to commit suicide, because taking one's life or taking one's own life, that is a sin, considered sin as per Garuda Purana and Bhagavatam also. So when that happens, he has to wait. So what happens is the soul is there, his subtle body, mind, intelligence and false ego there, but he doesn't have a gross body that is made of material elements, Panchabhuta, like earth, water, fire, air and ether. He doesn't have that material body. Only through material body you can touch, feel, see, sense the sense objects and everything, correct? If you do not have that material element, 5 material element, the body made up of 5 material element, when you don't have that body, you are just ghost, right? You are with subtle elements only, that mind, intelligence and false ego. So you're searching for the body, but only when the body becomes available you will be given. Until such time you have to wait. So that's why the ghosts are there for that period of time, that ghosts exist. And coming back to this again, what happens if an accident, or what happens if it is premature death of the baby? Like premature death is what we saw, but what happens if it is destined to die and we revive? What happens? So in the example of Narada Muni, Angira Muni and Chitraketu Maharaj, that story, Chitraketu Maharaj had millions of wives, he didn't have a child. So he tried, and because he didn't have a child, he became very morose, and Angira Muni comes on his own accord, and he asks what happened, and Chitraketu Maharaj says, I want a son to continue the kingdom. So he says, no, it won't be good. You are destined that you would not have a child. But somehow or other, he prays to this Angira Muni for a child, and he blesses, Angira Muni blesses, and Chitraketu Maharaj gets a child. And but Angira Muni warns him that Harsha Soka Janaka, means this child will be the cause of your happiness and misery. And he leaves. And because he was overly happy about having a child born to his first queen, he didn't pay much attention to the warning that was given by Angira Muni. And soon or later the child dies because of some conspiracy. The other queens become envious of this queen and having this child, and king is not paying any more attention to the other queens. So they give poison to this baby and kills the baby. So the child dies. And Angira Muni comes and Narada Muni comes when the entire kingdom becomes so morose, and Angira Muni and Narada Muni come and they give advice. Look, this is how material world works. So you shouldn't have attachment to other living entities so much. You only have attachment and up to the mark where, like how you keep the body alive, you eat that much only. You don't have to overeat or oversleep. That's what Bhagavad Gita recommends us. Similarly, you should also develop attachment to other living entities, your loved ones, to a certain extent, not overly attachment, like Dhritarashtra having overly attachment to his sons, especially Duryodhana, that caused only destruction. So overly attachment also not necessary. When Dasaratha Maharaj had overly attachment towards Rama, the destination of Dasaratha Maharaj is Ayodhya, Vaikuntha Loka. There are unlimited Vaikuntha Loka. One of the Vaikuntha Lokas is Ayodhya Vaikuntha Loka. So he goes back to Ayodhya Vaikuntha Loka. That's a transcendental position. That is not bad. When you have overly attachment, overly greediness towards the Lord, that is not wrong. But when you have the overly attachment toward other living entity, but not the Lord, then there is a problem. You can have attachment to Guru, Sadhu and Satsvaras, but not to the extent that actually stops you from doing devotional service. That should only inspire you to do devotional service more and more. And when you have more attachment towards the Lord or greediness towards the Lord, what happens? You love Him more. When you love Him more, you get more blessings and you will not have the next birth, right? Next material birth. So when abortion takes place or when the child dies and you want to revive the child, when the child was revived, because in Chitraketu's case, because he was so much lamenting, so Narada Muni says, okay, I will revive him, revive the child. The revived child comes back and asks the parents, Chitraketu and the queen, Kritatiti, who are you? And then they say, I'm your parents. Okay, I have taken many millions of birth, dear king and queen, and you are one set of parents in my previous life, and I had similar set of parents in previous lives. I might have taken birth as an insect, so I would have had insect parents. And previous life, I was the child of you, king and queen, so I was a prince. But now I have to move on to my next life cycle. Therefore, I'm no longer your child. So that gives the realization to the king Chitraketu that this is what the life is. So you shouldn't have attachment, and you should let go of when things happen. So Srimad Bhagavatam says when you throw two pieces of tree barks on the ocean, that coming closer together or leaving apart from each other there is the chances between those two things or it cannot be predicted, correct? You cannot say when the two barks will come and meet together. The departure will happen anytime. So the coming together and separating from each other will happen on its own accord. We shouldn't be lamenting on that. And again, fetal surgeries also explains or questions this ethical part, as we discussed earlier. In Parikshit Maharaj's case, when Ashwatthama sent the Brahmastra weapon to kill the child in the womb of Mother Uttara, the wife of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is the son of Arjuna and Mother Subhadra. So that was the last descendant of the Pandavas so far, right? After Parikshit Maharaj, Janamejaya came and so on and so forth. But for Parikshit Maharaj, to save Parikshit Maharaj, Uttara prayed to the Lord to save the child in the womb. So she prayed that you let the weapon kill me, but not my child. Please protect my child. Then Paramatma or Bhagavan went into the Mother Uttara's womb and protected the child Parikshit. So that we see, that is different. If there is divine intervention, that is accepted. But when there is material intervention, then the destiny is altered. Then we have to go through with things again. Say, I'll give you another example. So you change a geographical location because you are suffering from particular disease due to that atmosphere in that particular geographical location. So you change the location, thinking that now you will be devoid of such suffering. What material world gives you new set of suffering in that new atmosphere. So you went from summer weather, you don't want the summer weather, you like cold weather, you went to the cold weather, and because of too much cold, now you are developing new disease, some other disease, or some mental agony, or you are not seeing the sun anymore, so you are developing some mental distress. So something or other will be thrown upon you because this is a period of suffering, meaning period of suffering that you have to suffer. You cannot escape from that suffering. You can temporarily thinking that you are escaping, but actually you're not. You're only postponing the suffering. You will take another birth, or you have to go through the suffering through different media. Okay, so I am suffering from this disease for a particular period of time, and because that is the I decide, oh, that was the atmosphere that caused this suffering. Now I changed the atmosphere, but now I have to go through different suffering. I think that, oh, that suffering is gone, I'm happy. Yes, you're happy that disease has gone, but you're now introduced to the new suffering. Welcome to this material world. Correct. This will continue until we have proper realization of karma and suffering. Okay, so we covered all this. So the lesson that we learned, Prabhupada says, gives this message: this human life is a chance to escape. Manushyanam sahasreshu. So Krishna even says in Bhagavad Gita that among thousands and thousands of men, one comes to this path of yoga, and out of those thousands, one come to this path of devotion. So this is not easy. Even taking birth as a human itself rare. And among the human birth, if we are not utilizing for self-realization and the education for self-reflection and spiritual awakening, then the suffering will continue, either through this medium or that medium, through this body or another body. That's all. The suffering will be there. Dukkalayam ashashvadam, in chapter 8 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that will continue. The suffering will continue. The happiness will come in between the suffering. We think the suffering is gone, the happiness stays. No, the happiness comes and go in between the suffering. Like Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Tukada. Sita and Ushna, the summer and winter come and go, like that happiness and misery come and go, Arjuna. So you need to titikshasva bharata. You need to learn how to tolerate them. That's all. So there are some tips given in Bhagavatam, throughout Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. You need to accept the divine intervention. So when you make a plan, but it doesn't go like as per your plan, don't worry. Just trust in Lord's will, recognize the Lord's will, understand that there is divine intervention, and take blessings from Guru, Sadhu and Sastra, and get some mentorship from senior Vaishnavas, get saintly association, and learn how to tolerate those things. Because unfortunately or fortunately, we are in this material world. We have to go through those sufferings, believe it or not. And accepting and tolerating will help us to live our lives peacefully. Otherwise, even if you don't accept or accept or not accept, that suffering will be there. When you accept and tolerate and take solace, shelter of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, then you feel that heaviness being removed from your heart. The peace is lightened up in your heart. Right? And the baggage of karma also gets reduced when you have, when you suffer from some reactions. That means you're burning the karma. It's not that you're suffering out of nowhere. It's all burning only. It's burning out that karma. So we need to practice toleration, detachment, and saintly association, and accept the divine intervention. So, and by embracing such spiritual practices, we can definitely transcend this cycle of birth and death. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.